And are we live? Yes, I think we're live. Are we live, Michelle? Can you see? Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
I am going to pretend that we are live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday morning once again. Are you ready for me? Because I'm ready for you. Every question that is asked today we'll endeavour to answer as best we can. So you better start typing and clicking and getting into your little chat mode, because as soon as you stop chatting to me, I'm done. Oh, does that scare anybody? Michelle and I have just been talking about creepy, spooky stories. And I've promised her girls that when all of this is over, all of this quarantine stuff is over, that they can come over for a sleepover. Michelle can come as well if she likes, and I'm going to tell them some really, really good haunted house stories, spooky ghost stories, stories about things that go bump in the night, all that good stuff. And I was telling them that I used to, when my daughter was about 10 or 12 years old, she used to love, her friends would come for sleepovers, and I would tell them the story of Aggie McNelly. Now, Aggie McNelly was not real; she was a made up, but she lived in our garden, and she would cast spells. And Samantha told me years and years later that even though they used to beg and beg and beg me every time she had sleepovers, they would all beg me to tell them stories of Aggie McNelly and to make them as spooky and scary as I possibly could. That for years and years and years she was scared to death to go to bed at night for fear Aggie McNelly would come and take a look at her. So you never know what you're putting into your children's minds, do you? Right, enough of that. So good morning. I would like to say good morning to my spirit guide Gregor, who is standing to my right side as always. Where is my puppy? In the corner, as usual. He was here a few minutes ago on the sofa. And of course, remotely, but still belovedly, I'd like to say good morning to Michelle. Good morning, Michelle. She's sort of right on my phone. Isn't technology a fabulous thing? Are you on my iPad, Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a reason why I thought my iPad was broken, and I had to go out and buy a new iPad, only to discover that my iPad actually wasn't broken. So I do love having two iPads, so I have to be honest. But anyway, so Michelle is at her house. How are you doing, Michelle?
Oh, we're hanging in there.
Good,
It's
good.
been difficult with the kids and new schooling, and
They're doing it remotely, right?
they are, but we are video chatting and Zooming with their teachers,
All right.
like every day.
Samantha just told me of an app, and in fact, I think I did actually go and sign up for it. What is it? I forgot now what it's called. Housewives chat room or something. I can't remember what the app's called now, but anyway, it's apparently supposed to be really, really good. It's my daughter's birthday on Tuesday. It's a big birthday for her, so she's really a little bit upset that she won't be able to come here. I won't be able to go there. We're stuck with that. But as with everybody else in the same situation, I said to her, at least you've got your darling boy who will share with you your birthday. And I've sent her all kinds of stuff, how mothers do that. So, she will have a birthday. It just perhaps won't be the one she was hoping for. But anyway, there we are. Right. Stories. We're talking about stories. And, sometimes during the day, especially now, but always, I've done this with my grandson. I'll often call, or he'll call me, and we can be on the phone. We can play on the phone. We play Let's Pretend. We play Let's Go to Disney. We play all sorts of things. When he was little and he had a train set, he used to have me on FaceTime on his mum's phone, and he would lay the phone on top of the train, and he could look and see me, and he would look down at me and say, okay, where are we going? Let's go off to, we go to Legoland, we go to Disney World. Make believe, and children's imaginations are just really incredible. And a long time ago, I started writing stories for children, just for me. And I was saying to Michelle, if I get insomnia, if I can't sleep in the middle of the night, I'll often get up and I'll write stuff. But as Reese got a little older, I've written some stories just for him, and they're children's stories. They're called the Once Upon a Time series. We thought, right, Michelle, I was reading these stories to Reese yesterday. I said, let's have a story time. And he sat on the sofa. I said, now, if I'm going to do this, you've got to be a really good boy and listen. One of the stories is a little bit long, and I thought maybe he'd get bored, but he was so entranced with this story, and he sat and he listened. And then I said to him, I'm thinking, okay, he's had enough of story time. He said, can I have another one, Mosey? Will you tell me another story? So I told him a story about, the first story was about the lonely mouse, once upon a lonely time. And then I told him a story about the land of Jello, that story is called Once Upon a Dreaming Time. And he just was thrilled. So it has made me think, maybe I should just put these down, and maybe I'll have a friend of mine do the illustrations, and maybe we'll just make really cute little books, reading for kids. So that's what we're going to be doing. Hopefully we shall see where it goes, but that's, now I've spoken it out loud after all of these years of scribbling. Now I've spoken it out loud. That means then I have to do something about it. In the meantime, let's look at all of you. Enough about me, enough about my grandson, who you all know I can talk about forever and ever and ever. But what about you? Michelle, do we have anyone out there? Is there anybody there, Michelle?
We have several people out here.
Oh, okay.
We have a good group this morning, and they keep coming.
That's good. All right. So if we have lots of people, do we have lots of questions then?
Well, our very first question.
Pardon?
Our very first question.
Our very first question.
Put out as a joke. But
Dean.
I actually want to know because this affects me. So I actually do want to know.
All right.
Dean actually asked, I wonder if there are motorcycles in the spirit world. Better not ask this one, LOL. But I like motorcycles. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a motorcycle girl.
Are there motorcycles in the spirit world? I've never seen one. However, and this isn't always the case, so I don't want to make it sound as if I'm grouping all motorcycle people together, Michelle, and all of you out there who love motorbikes. But when I think of people who ride motorbikes and who like motorbikes, I think of people who like speed, or they like the wind in their hair, and they like the freedom. Would that be about right, Michelle? Am I?
Well, yes and no. It's about the freedom. It's about the wind in your hair. Okay. But it's not so much about the speed. A lot of the guys that we ride with are older guys. I mean, we're talking 35 to 70.
Right.
And it's more about
oh my golly, that's old.
Freedom. Well, no, I mean,
I'm kidding.
They're not old. They're not old, but
they're not of an age. They're not of an age you would imagine a biker to be. Me, I'm coming from a place of I know nothing about motorbikes. Having said that, I might surprise you, Michelle, because my father had a motorbike, and when I was sort of a young teenager, he was a commissionaire. That means he was like a security guard, and he was in the city of Leicester, and because he sort of was in charge of his group of men. All of these men were sort of from the armed forces. They used to recruit the commissionaires from the armed forces mostly, and because my father was sort of in charge of one area of that, he could pick and choose wherever he went. And my father loved wrestling, and I'm going to surprise you all, but I loved wrestling. I would get so involved in it. And so my father would take me to the wrestling matches. once or twice a week. It would be every Friday night, definitely, sometimes on a Saturday night as well. And he would take me, I'd climb on the back of his motorbike, and he'd take me to the wrestling match. And because I was the daughter of the chief security guard, I always got a front row seat. I was usually the youngest there. I was teeny little thing. I know it's hard to imagine now, but I was really tiny, skinny, not particularly tall, but I was a teeny thing, and I would sit like this, a little waif, or lost little waif, all on my own. Crowds and crowds of people around me, and the wrestlers would come in, and they would come and they would walk down the aisle right next to where I was sitting, and I would look at them in absolute awe. And you know, wrestling is all about being scary and playing to the crowd and so on and so forth. But I just bought into it, and I was always the one who was yelling the most, screaming the most, standing up and saying, no, don't do that, or booing when the crowd booed. I was really into it. But anyway, and then my father would take me back home on the motor. It's so hard to imagine that I was so unruly. You can't imagine that, can you? But then my father, thank you. My father, then we would ride home. And on the way back home, it was always the same, because the ride home was about a 30-minute ride. And I would be on the back of his bike, no helmets in those days, and I'd have my arms around his waist, and all of a sudden he'd call me Rosie, and he'd say, Rosie, are you there? And I'd say yes, and he'd say, are you there? Are you there? Oh my, I've got to go back. I think she's fallen off. And we would have this game of, I'd fallen off the bike, and he'd slow down, then he'd speed up, and then he'd say, I don't know where she's gone. And I would giggle and giggle and giggle. And it was a time, my father was very fierce. He was very tough. And, many of the times that I was growing up were not at all pleasant. And he beat me pretty badly a couple of times. But when it was just the two of us and nobody else around, it was a completely different relationship. And those are the memories that I wish to hold on to, with him, playing and messing about, and me giggling away, and just the two of us, just as if no one else in the world existed. And they were the lovely times. Even out of adversity, you can always pull out something that is good. So, and I choose to hold on to the good memories rather than bemoan the bad. Now, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, so don't think that I haven't been on a motorbike. Thank you for that question, Dean. Did I answer it? No, I didn't. Here's the deal. When you have experienced astral travel, when you have experienced flying through time and space, when you have experienced that kind of freedom, you will never want to get on your motorbike again. If it's a choice between the motorbike or astral traveling or moving at the speed of light or even beyond the speed of light, I know what you're going to choose, and what we're all going to choose, because the freedom. And also what happens is, whatever we have experienced, we're using not our physical bodies, but we're using our etheric body, which is the same shape, same size, but indestructible. No aches, no pains. So if our physical body is sick or damaged in any way, the etheric body is free of all of that, every little bit of the aches and pains that we might have experienced. So you don't only get the freedom of, sort of this moving and the speed and the incredible feeling of traveling through time and space, you also have the freedom of the lightness of your body and the feeling of just being whole. And that's amazing. So I hope that answers your question. There you go, Michelle. Next question. Michelle, now just to say, Dean did think that was a funny question, and it might have been, but did you like my answer?
I did like your answer.
Good.
But do you think that we could like take a cloud and shape it like a motorcycle when we do all this special travel in the spirit world?
You can do whatever you like. I had a young boy who there's a story in one of my books, and lovely boy. He was actually taken from his home by his teenage, let's call them loosely friends, by his teenage friends, and shot in the head execution style. And he would come to me and talk to me very often, and talk to his family. And he said to me, I was in Colorado with this family one time. We were having dinner in a restaurant, and his mother actually said, when he was here, he loved snowboarding. Does he still like to do that? So in other words, she's asking sort of the same question, are they snowboarding in this world? And I can always remember his answer, and he laughed out loud and he said, I don't snowboard anymore, I cloudboard. Can you imagine that? Going from cloud to cloud, skipping along from cloud to cloud. What fun that would be. Next question.
Okay. Wendy is on this morning.
Please excuse my coughing. So who's on?
Wendy.
Good morning,
my
darling. Were your ears burning yesterday? In a good way? Yeah.
She says, good morning. And then she says, Rosemary, can Gray Eagle tell us anything about the situation with the virus? Does he know about it coming from his position?
Oh, yes, of course. How can I say this? I'm asking Gray Eagle to, and I've said this before, we've talked about this before, but when you ask people in the spirit world, and especially you ask somebody like Gray Eagle, who is a highly evolved spiritual entity, and is very, very wise, and so knowing. When we're talking about these viruses, he's, if you look at this world of ours, it has been racked and ravaged for hundreds, if not thousands of years by one thing or another. The plagues, what is it? The plagues that sort of annihilated London at one point, and so on and so forth. And if you look at those times, when people were experiencing these times of plague and famine and all of the stuff that goes on, when you look at them, and even if you go back, you don't have to go back hundreds of years, just go back 5 years or 10 years, and we look at the things that we were dealing with then, and the tsunami, and all of the all of the earthquakes and the volcanoes and the things that disrupt and disturb this earth. When we are in it, it seems to be the most important thing. But with time, time heals. It's not that we necessarily forget, but time is what helps us, gives us the opportunity to figure out what is happening and so on. This is not, I know that people think that this is the most deadly thing to happen to this world of ours so far in history, but it actually is not. And when Gray Eagle looks at these things, and when those in the spirit world look at these things, they don't see what we see. They don't see it from our perspective. We're in it. So it seems to us that it's the worst possible thing ever. But once we come out of it, and we will, and even now it's easing off in many countries. Even now people are recovering. Even now there are people who are getting it, but because it's been around for a while, there are people who are able to, with their own immune systems, get over it. It's not like everybody who gets this thing is dying. 98% of the people who get this virus survive it. They survive it. But at the same time, I think what is happening now is that, someone was telling me they went to Walmart yesterday. People are panic buying again. we need to step back, but it's so hard when you're in it. And Gregel is saying that we, with our human vision, our humanness, in our humanness, we only see that much of the picture, but he sees the wider picture. And what he's showing me, and what he's showing me with this wider picture is, he's showing me that, that nature in all its glory and all its beauty will come around. We will come through this, and we will, we'll come out of it. And in a few years' time, it'll be the same thing. We'll see it as a time that was a terrible time, but that we got through it, and we will get through it. And I think we'll get through it sooner than perhaps we think we should. However, I would like to say to anybody out there, if you know of someone who is deliberately flouting the fact that they can go out, they can go here, they can go there, and they don't have to take care, and they don't have to take precautions, and this is ridiculous, and so on. I think there should be a system where we should be able to report people who are not taking this seriously, because I think that the only people who can make this worse are us, if we do not take care, and if we do not hold other people's feet to the fire. If we see something that is happening that isn't good, someone told me that police went to a house in around my neighborhood the other day, and there were 20-30 people having a party, drinking beer, getting all, and would you not do it? It's not just about you who are at the party, it's about everybody else. And all of you out there who are panic buying and getting tons and tons of this, that and the other, can you think of other people? Can you leave some stuff behind for other people? In times of fear, in times of trials, it shows the best of us, and it shows the worst of us. It brings out the best in our nature, but it can bring out the worst in our nature. Try and think about that. Try and make it a point to allow yourselves to, be the best of who you can be, and be the best example that you can be to your children, to your neighbors, to your friends, to anybody you talk to. Be the best that you can be. But we will get over this. We're not all dropping dead. It's not like, trillions of people are already dead. Let's put it into perspective. It's in the huge scheme of things, and this is Gregel saying this, in the massive, huge scheme of things, it is merely a glitch. I know that for people who are suffering, I know that for people who've had people die, I know that it's more than a glitch, but the truth of the matter is, we are human, and therefore we are vulnerable, and if we don't die from one thing, we eventually die from something else. There's one certainty in life, and that certainty is that we're all going to die at some point or another. So be the best that you can be. Remember that in times of war, in times of strife, in times of earthquakes, in times of tsunamis, in times of volcanoes erupting, in times of tragedy, we have two choices. We can be the best that we can be, or we can be the worst that we can be. So try, if you can, to be the best that you can be. Gregel is saying it in a blink of an eye, it will be over. Let's have our next question. Thank you, Wendy, for asking that question. Let's go to another.
Chris is on.
Good morning, Chris.
And she says, my brother was anxious this morning with the reports of the expected deaths mounting due to the COVID-19. Could Rosemary talk about our plans prior to birth, and who says we do not go before our time?
Well, I can talk a little bit about it, but it's a huge subject, Chris. So I could sort of give you a little thumbnail of it. Prior to our coming to this earth plane. We are earth souls. If you've read soul signs, you'll know exactly what that means. We are a cluster of souls. If you go out there and look out into the stars and look out into the sky, or if you're looking to have a telescope, or if you know anything about star formations, you'll know that a group of stars like the Seven Sisters or like the Plough or whatever else, I'm a bit lost as to other star systems at the moment, but each of those groups of stars are called a cluster. And souls that are connected to our planet Earth, we are a cluster of souls. We're called a cluster of souls. So, you know, whenever we sort of pop our clog, so to speak, that means, for those of you who don't come from Yorkshire, it means you die. Whenever we pop our clogs, when we are talking about renewing our life experience, or coming back and doing this all over again, or whatever it is we choose to do, we can actually go exploring elsewhere. But if we choose to have our experiences and sort of reliving or doing this again, we will inevitably, because we are souls from this earth, we are part of an earth cluster, a soul cluster, we will come back to this earth plane to have these experiences again. So when we are preparing to come here, and we do prepare to come here, basically, you know, there are people who help us. There are wise people who help us, people such as Grey Eagle, for instance, who help us to, you know, talk us through the things that we need, the things that we want, what it is that we need to grow. Do we actually want to grow? You know, it's sort of like, you know, like anything at all, when we're looking for a job, when we leave school and we're thinking about what do we do with our life next, and we have people who can help us and who can advise us, and it's the same in the spirit world. So, you know, based on the things that it might be suggested that we need, and based on the things that we decide that we would want to learn, and in what way we would want to learn and grow, our place is chosen for us, but with our input. A little bit like, you know, whichever college you might choose. There is a time for us to be born. There are certain things in our lives which we are inevitably going to encounter, because those are the things that are meant to help us in our learning process, because that's what we're here for. That's why we chose to come here. But there is a time for us to die, and in my experience, you cannot die before your time. It's not possible for you to die before your time. However, there are the inevitables, and then there are things that happen to us that we have choices about. We don't necessarily have a choice to be sick or not be sick. We don't necessarily have a choice to, have an accident or not have an accident, or to be married or what have you. But what we do have a choice about is the way that we feel and think and act about the things that happen to us. In other words, our choice is about our attitude. So that's what we have to focus on. Our choice is all about our attitude, and our attitude will often determine what comes next for us and how we deal with the next situation that we're meant to face. So I think I've answered it right, Michelle. My daughter's I'm declining. My daughter's trying to get hold of me. There we are. They've declined. Anyway, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. Hiya, Rosemary. It's Sarita from Wales.
Hi, Sarita.
I caught you a while ago on Facebook, and she wants to know, how are you, my beautiful? And love and light to you.
I am wonderful. Thank you. I'm still trying to sing. I'm saying this because this lovely lady is Welsh. So she will know, we Welsh, we have our lungs and we have our voices and we love to sing. Unfortunately, with the cough and all the other stuff going on, it's not so easy. However, let me tell you, for anybody out there who's having difficulty with their breathing, their lungs, and so on, singing and breathing and using your lungs is the best way to keep them well and strong and healthy. Does she have a question?
No, that's all she said.
Oh, that's lovely, and it's lovely to hear from Wales. I wonder which part of Wales you're from. All right, my grandfather, David Edwards. How about that for a Welsh name for you? My grandfather, David Edwards, was my father's father was a Welshman. So I'm very fond of Wales. Anyway, go ahead.
Dean says he's finally feeling like he's on the mend.
Yay!
And springtime is in him.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and yesterday, and in New York City at I think, I'm not sure if I get this. Don't shout at me if I get this wrong. It's either 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Every single night, the whole city comes out to cheer the nurses, the doctors, the grocery workers, and you can hear it all over the city. You can hear people cheering. So she literally took me outside. She's lucky she has a garden, and so she took me outside, and you could hear the whole city cheering. It was really a lovely sight. They're cheering for all of the workers who are actually out there, even though sort of risking life and limb in a way. And and that was lovely to hear. But as she was as I was listening to this, she got the camera turned towards the garden, and I could see these beautiful blossoms, bright yellow blossoms, and I thought, oh, spring is definitely here because the forsythia is out. I know that some of you say forsythia, but I'm British. We say forsythia. And the forsythia was out, full bloom. There were 3 or 4 absolutely beautiful, beautiful big bushes that were filled with golden blossoms. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So spring is, yes, it is around the corner here. And, my daughter's birthday is next week. And I was saying to somebody the other day, her birthday is April 7th. And that was always the day, whether it was cold, whether it was hot, didn't matter what the weather was like, that was when I put on her first pretty cotton dress of the summer. It was the beginning of spring, so April 7th is the beginning of spring for me always. Next question, anybody?
Janice is on, and she says, hi, Rosemary, Grey Eagle, and Michelle.
Morning.
And everyone.
Oh, look at that. She mentioned us all. That's so nice. You forgot Choro just to say. Just kidding.
Well, she said and everyone.
She did. My boy's in the corner sleeping. He'll be 13 years.
She's so glad to be here with us.
Pardon?
She just said that she's so glad to be here with us.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Right.
Dean would like to know if Grey Eagle ever tells stories.
Oh, Dean, you and your stories. We are actually, this should please you, we're doing another story time on Saturday. If you missed our story time last Saturday, I can't even remember what the story was. Can you, Michelle? I've no idea what the story was about. It's gone out of my head, but it is on YouTube, and you can go and find it on, what's it called? Story Time with Rosemary. Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
Story Time with Rosemary. And Saturday, I did one last Saturday at 11. Dean, I'm doing another one. Are we doing it at 10 o'clock this Saturday or 11 o'clock, Michelle?
11 o'clock.
So 11 o'clock this Saturday morning.
Everything happens at 11 o'clock this week.
Everything happens at 11 o'clock. Okay, then. So we're doing another story time at 11 o'clock. Now, I have invited people to, to write in their own stories. If you'd like to tell us a story, or, something inspiring, or something that happened to you, or, it can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about the spooky stuff. You know, if you send it in to us, it cannot be reams and reams and reams long. It has to be something that I can read or tell the story within, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. But we'd love to hear from you if you've got a story to share. Dean, you're always asking for stories. How about you sending one in? How about you even coming on with us and telling a story? Have I scared you enough now, Dean? But
he probably would jump right on and tell a story with you. You know that, right?
Say that again.
I said Dean would jump right on with you to tell a story.
No, he wouldn't. I'm inviting him. Let's see if he does jump right on. He can be very shy and he doesn't always like the limelight. But if you don't, you can be on with me, Dean, and tell a story, or you can write me a story and I'll read it out. How's that? Because you're always wanting stories from me. I'm wanting a story now from you. Right, let's have the next question or comment.
He says I don't frighten easily.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. We'll have you on then. We'll have you on. Not this Saturday. Next Saturday, Dean. Make a note. All right. Next question or comment, Michelle.
There's lots of today. Everybody's active. Like, we haven't even made it halfway through our comments yet.
Okay. Well, why don't you just give me some comments then?
Okay. Well, Adrienne is on, and she says, "Hi, Rosemary. Yesterday was my birthday, and I'm wondering if I have any messages from anyone in heaven that would make my day."
Happy birthday, I think. Yes, happy birthday. Gregel has his hand on my shoulder. Something about your, I'm not sure if it's your dad or your, not sure. Anyway, happy birthday. There you are. That's as much as I can give you there. Next, Michelle.
James is on.
Good morning, James. How are you, my darling? I hope you're doing well.
He said his take on it is, if it's my day, it's my day. Maybe it sounds glum, but I believe when our number is up, whether on a motorcycle or not, that's my day.
You're absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly, James. Absolutely, wholeheartedly. That's my take on it. Next.
Matthew is on.
Good morning, Matthew.
And he says, "Morning, Rosemary. I'm still seeing my dead dogs, only now I have many more orbs than before."
Oh, well, you know they're not dead. When you said dead dogs, you sort of get this vision of all these dead dogs scattered around on the floor. Matthew, we know they're not dead. As much as we love them, and what other word can we use to express what we mean? Dead is a good word as any, but you know that they are not, and how lucky for you. I still see my puppies in the spirit world too, by the way. I was actually looking at my darling Nino. He was my chocolate Labrador. He worshipped the ground I walked on, and I worshipped the ground he walked on. And maybe I'll tell that story on Saturday, that how I actually found him and he found me. Maybe that's a story for Saturday that I'll tell you all. Can you remind me, Michelle? Because you know me, I shall forget. I said, what did I say I'd tell a story about? And then I forget.
The story of Nino.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, let's keep going.
So, Maggie has a comment, but I think it's hilarious, so I'm going to...
It had better not be about chocolate, Maggie.
It has nothing to do with chocolate. She says, "Uh-oh, Michelle, does this mean that those in the spirit world will have to duck an awful lot of mumbling? Here she comes again when you get up there." That's
right.
Absolutely correct.
Could you say that to me again, slowly?
Maggie said, "Uh-oh, Michelle, does that mean that those in the spirit world will have to duck an awful lot mumbling? Here she comes again when you get up there."
Oh, I see. She said when I get up there.
No, when I get up there.
Oh, when you get up there.
On my motorbike.
Oh,
In the clouds.
oh, I see. Oh, I see. Well, you know, the good news is, you know, the good news is, first of all, that we don't have to talk to anyone we don't want to talk to. So, you know, we don't have to worry about coming face to face with people that we don't like, or the people who are mean to us, or the people who did horrible things to us. Another thing, just in case somebody out there thinks that this is a really good question, one of the questions that I'm often asked, which always makes me laugh, is, well, you know, if everybody dies and goes up there, didn't it get a bit crowded then? And I laugh. Do you not realize, with all of the telescopes that we have, with all of the information that we have now, have you no clue as to how vast a place this is, how enormous a place this is? So, you know, no, not crowded at all. Right, keep going, Michelle. I'm with you.
All right, our next one is from Mum Dags.
Who?
Mum Dags.
Mum Dags, okay, Mum Dags.
It says, good morning. I've been listening to guided meditation to connect with loved ones, and I seem to fall fast asleep during the meeting portion and then come to as it's over. Suggestions to remain aware.
Well, I don't know which meditations you are listening to. Certainly not mine, because my meditations, first of all, they're guided meditations, and they are not about you getting in touch with anyone in the spirit world. They're about you getting in touch with your own self, with your own soul, and finding peace within you, which is what meditation should be about. Meditations it's easy, they do put you to sleep. I'm going to suggest, my darling, that I always say to my students when we first start with meditation, to have an alarm clock. You know, one of those little timers, kitchen timers that you can get. Set it for, if the meditation lasts for 40 minutes, for instance, set it for, 40 minutes, and it'll go off, it'll ding, and if you're asleep, it will wake you up. I don't like people to go into meditation without some kind of protection. So do be careful what you are listening to. I'm going to suggest maybe you'd like to try a different type of meditation rather than the ones that you are trying. Having said that, I don't know which ones you're trying. It's hard for me to make a comment about them. I'm not saying that they're no good. I'm just simply saying they're obviously not doing it for you. So that would be my advice, my darling. Try perhaps a different type of meditation. My meditations are guided meditations. You can actually, I can say this, Michelle, listen to this. You can actually find my first one ever on, I know I'm way behind the times. I know Samantha calls me a dinosaur. The thing is that I don't have an agent, and I don't have somebody out there full-time working for me. Michelle and I, we do all of this, don't we? And Chris is helpful, and Al is great, and we have lots of people helping. If you want to volunteer to help us, by all means, feel free, anybody out there. But my first guided meditation on iTunes, it is called
A Journey Towards Healing.
Thank you. It is called A Journey Towards Healing. It is a guided meditation. You will hear my dulcet tones. I will be talking to you all the way through it, making suggestions of the things that you can focus on, the things that you might like to visualize, and so on and so forth. But it is a guided meditation that I will talk you through. You can find this on Amazon and
Google and
iTunes and
we're on 30 different platforms.
30 different platforms. So anywhere you think you can find music or that kind of thing, go. You'll find it under my name, Rosemary Altea. Excuse me. The first one is called A Journey Towards Healing. this particular meditation has been used in homes and hospitals throughout the world. And I told a story of a lady. Did I tell the story yet of the lady who had surgery and could not have anesthetic? She had to have her hand sawed off and then put back on and stitched back up again without anesthetic. And she asked the doctors if she could use her healing meditation.
I think that's the one that we told Saturday.
Yeah, that's the story we told on Saturday. So if you want to go and find that story, and she actually, the surgeon, she asked the surgeon if she could play this. So they literally put headphones on her, and she played that thing all the way through. Amazingly got through it with so little fuss. And the surgeon said to her afterwards, I really need to have a copy of whatever it was you were listening to, because it was amazing. So if you want to know that story, and that is a journey towards healing, if you want to know that story, you want to know how that meditation worked for her, go to YouTube, Michelle.
It's on YouTube. It's Storytime with Rosemary.
Storytime with Rosemary, and you'll find it on YouTube, and that is our first Storytime story. But anyway, if you do want a guided meditation, just please try it out. I don't think it costs you a fortune. It's it's a very easy thing to listen to. Do not, and this applies to my meditations and anybody else's, do not, whatever you do, use machinery, drive a car. You cannot play it while you're driving in your car. It's not one of those things you can just put in your thing and drive away and listen to it. It will potentially relax you to the point where sometimes people do go into a sort of a nice, easy sort of semi-sleep state. You do not, and the big warning caution, do not use any meditation, whether it's guided or otherwise, while you are using machinery of any kind or driving a car. Please be careful, but do enjoy it. Again, you'll find it on iTunes, Amazon,
Spotify,
YouTube Music, Google Play, and on 30 different 30 different platforms you can find it on. All right, let's have our next let's have our next question.
Okay, we don't have a question.
That's okay.
But we do have an amazing comment. And this is from, amazing comment.
Hold on. I know it's about my beauty, isn't it?
No.
Oh. It's about my great legs.
No.
It's about my weird eyes. No?
No.
All right.
It has nothing to do with you.
Oh, what? You mean it's not about me? Okay.
It's not about you this time.
Oh, that's fine. Let's have an amazing comment then.
Okay, we have a comment from Naomi.
Good morning, Naomi. Sorry to tease you.
And it says, blessings, Rosemary. I just wanted to share some joyful news.
Oh, yeah.
After almost 3 years, I am pregnant for the first time. I suggested the name Rosemary, but my husband won't get on board.
Oh, well, what does he know?
Michelle's a nice name, too.
Oh, Naomi. Oh, my gosh. That is thrilling news. However, now you need to take care of yourself. Rest as much as you can. Don't do anything stupid. Enjoy this time. I remember being pregnant with Samantha. I was throwing up for 4.5 months daily, all day, every day, with a big bowl next to me. Naomi, you're not going to do that, are you? And they have all sorts of things to help us now. But all of the stuff that you have to go through with having babies and so on. And my daughter didn't go through a great deal. She had a wonderful pregnancy until the end. It got a bit tricky, but then it was fine. And you're going to be absolutely fine, Naomi. I'm so excited for you. When you hold that little one in your arms, all of you out there who are mothers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. and you look down at this little tiny thing, and I can remember being fascinated. My daughter had such long fingers, tiny, tiny hands and long, long fingers. And I remember being totally fascinated by her fingers. But the most intriguing thing was that she looked like she'd been to the manicurist. She had the most perfect almond-shaped nails. Perfect. I know. Isn't it weird, the things you think of? Anyway, oh, I'm so excited, Naomi. Thank you so much for sharing that news with us. You're going to be fine. We're going to send you lots of healing. Please keep us posted and let us know how you're doing, and we want to know when it's due too. We love joyful news on this show, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you almost choked drinking that,
I
didn't
did.
you? Okay, next comment or question.
Maggie said, I really think that this panic buying is from all the manufacturers and the news media hype.
I couldn't agree more. There was a big headlines last week or the week before, massive headlines in an online newspaper. Mother and 2 children die of whatever the virus is, okay? And it goes so far, but then you've got to click on it to find the rest of it. And I can imagine mothers with young children panicking and getting worked up and worried. Of course, that was the design of it, wasn't it? To get us to click on and to panic and to worry and to read more and more and so on and so forth. But as you read it through, it was all about the woman who was sort of 86 or 87 or something, and her 2 daughters who were in their late 60s and early 70s, and who they were all suffering from other illnesses. But you didn't hear of that until the very end of the story. There should be, so I've got to decline my daughter, there should absolutely be some recourse, some action that we can take against people who are deliberately, scaremongering. It's disgraceful, and I couldn't agree with you more, Maggie, about the, some of the food companies, and they're driving people towards panic buying and so on. So I couldn't agree with you more. Let's move on.
Okay.
You sound as if you're doing a Buddhist meditation there.
I am. I need to meditate as much as possible having these kids home for a month and a half or whatever it is now.
Okay.
Magdalena.
Good morning, Magdalena.
Says, what can prevent us from being infected by fear?
Well, it's all about attitude. It's such a good question, Magdalena. I love it. It's about our attitude. It's about having a positive attitude. It's about, when you start to feel like you're starting to think more about, the worst things that are happening, or you have friends who come to visit you and they'll get on the phone with you, or whatever it is nowadays, and they start to tell you the news, this happened and that happened and so on. You've got to just at some point say enough. On the one hand, we do need to keep ourselves informed, but we don't need to drench ourselves in the negativity. So when we find that happening, it's up to us. Nobody else can do it for you, my darling. It's up to us to say, hold on a minute, let me remind myself, 98% of all people who get this survive. So the chances of survival are so enormously high. I'm not going to get bogged down in the negative. Let's think about the positive. And I just would like to remind you of the story I told at the beginning here. I did not have a great relationship with my parents. My father was an army sergeant. He was tough. We had sort of fairly regular beatings when we were kids. It was very methodically done. Go upstairs, take your pants off, lean over the bed and wait for me to come up, and then he might make you wait for 5 minutes, or he might make you wait for half an hour with your bare bottom in the air. Little girls, we were only young. The majority of the time it was me. My sisters will say the same thing. But sometimes it was them too. And then he would come up and his hand hurt so badly. Uh, you can go to the negative, you can look at the negative, but I told a story this morning about being on his motorbike and giggling with him and having fun with him. And there were those times. And so what we have to do is we have to search. And sometimes we really have to search hard, because it's not easy always to find the positive, is it? It's not easy always to look on the bright side, especially when we're bombarded with negativity from so many people. But I'm personally making a point of, I never read the news. Other people tell me what's going on, but I never read the news and never listen to the news. I refuse to do it. Um, but at the same time, I know what's going on. I know how to protect myself and those who I care about. Um, we just have to do the best that we can do, and then find the joy in life. My, daughter, it's her birthday on Tuesday, and she was a bit miserable one day, and she said, "Well, I'm not going to have anybody." I said, "Yes, you are. You're going to have your little boy. You're going to spend the whole day just you and him, and can't be more joyful than that." And she said, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right." And Michelle called me the other day. She was driving herself crazy, and I said to her, "You've got a pool. You've got your garden. Get out there and make the best of it. Find things to do out there." And she laughed and she said, "You're right." And we know that there are so many people out there who are stuck inside their apartments, or they're not as fortunate as we are. But no matter what your circumstance, go in the kitchen, make yourself something nice to eat. Sort of put a good movie on TV. Do things that are positive rather than negative. That should work. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Next, Michelle, how are we doing?
We're good. Maggie is on, and she said, "With this toilet paper phase, I was in the store and couldn't find any, and went down the baking aisle, but saw a sale on brownies, making people laugh when I said, 'Well, thank God, at least they have brownies.'"
Good. You and your chocolate. I take it they were chocolate brownies. Look, here's the thing about toilet paper, people. When I was growing up, we had strips of newspaper. Um, we have soap, we have water. I mean, come on, you don't need me to spell it out to you, do you? There are ways. Get in the shower or something, just wash yourself afterwards. Tear up some old towels or something for washcloths to use, if that's what you need to do, and then throw them in the washing machine. There are things we can do. Toilet. I mean, what do you think people did in caveman times? I guess they used leaves or things, or maybe just they did what dogs do and wipe their bottoms on the grass or something. We're not. Life is not that terrible. And also the funny thing, I was thinking yesterday, I boiled up some eggs to make an egg salad, and I tore a strip off of my paper towel because I like to put the eggs on the paper towel to dry them before I chop them up. I've had the same roll of paper towel now for about 4 weeks because I use it so sparingly. Oh my goodness, what on earth do I do instead of paper towel? Well, I use kitchen cloths. I use linen napkins. What do we think we did before the age where we started stripping the rainforests bare and ruining the rainforest? What did we think we did before people came up with, oh, look, paper towels? And we've become so used to having all this stuff. But really and truly, I think one of the good things for me about this, see, I'm thinking positively, is that I do have a stack of paper towels because I bought a big pack. When everybody was paying, I went to the store, they had nothing, and then a guy came to me and he said, "Oh, they've got paper towels if you want some." So I took a big pack. I've still got that big pack. 3 or 4 weeks later, I've still got that big pack. One of the really good things that come out of this is I shall not be using paper towels for every little thing like I did before. I just never thought about it like everybody else. I shall be continuing to use my linen napkins. I shall throw them in the washing machine when I've got enough. Luckily, I've got a pile of them. Go out and buy paper napkins. Sorry, not paper. Go out and buy linen napkins. I don't think there's a shortage of them. And, just get a grip, people. Get a grip. You can, I swear to you, you can live without toilet roll. I promise you can. And it's not so bad once you start doing it. Right, let's have another question, shall we? Can we make this can we make these last questions not about the virus? Not about how much we're suffering without... Pardon?
This was a question about when we travel, when we astral travel.
Great, I love that.
Maggie wants to know how long a blink of an eye translation is between here and there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was wondering when... Oh, Maggie is so smart. I was wondering when somebody would sort of pull me up on that. Well, our whole life, whether we live, to the age of 5, 25, 55, 105, in terms of time, is a blink of an eye. It is truly. So in this circumstance, I do not think that in 5 years' time we'll be worrying about this situation, and I don't think even in maybe 2 years. I don't know what a blink of an eye is. However long it lasts, I actually feel that we've actually come over a hurdle. We're going into it's almost like, we've sort of come up over the hump. We've gone down into the dip again. We're sort of coming out of the dip. There'll be another hump, and the next dip will be a little bit less, and then we'll be free and clear. We'll be home and dry. So not that long. I don't think that long at all. So try, in the meantime, not to worry how long, but what am I going to do with the time I've got? I was saying to Samantha yesterday, she's with Reese 24/7 in the apartment. She's going to look back on this time and just be so grateful that she had that, just the two of them, that they had that time together, that special time together. Because how often, honestly, do we have the time where we can't do anything but be stuck in the house with our kids? Yes, stuck there. I would give anything to be stuck there with my daughter, age 5 or 6 or 7. Once again, time goes very swiftly, goes very fast.
What about 14 and 11?
What was
so what about 14 and 11?
Yeah, well, but make the most of it, just because it's unlikely you're going to get this opportunity again to have such great times with your kids, where you really do have one-on-one time, and you really, really can get to know them, and they can get to know you. It's very special time. It's very precious time. So, it really is, although we don't want it necessarily, it is a gift if we look at it as a gift and use it as a gift, and make cookies and make up stories about, you bite into them and then they scream. And that's my grandson's story for the week. He took a bite of his cookie and it went, ah! And he's got wonderful stories. Anyway, that's beside the point. Make the most of it, people. Yes, next.
We still have a lot. Maggie says that she wants to dance in the Northern Lights as a spirit. I think that'd be a blast. I want to go with Maggie.
I actually would like to do it beforehand. But anyway, we shall see. I don't want to wait till I'm dead. There are lots of things I still have to do. Carry on. Keep going. You say we've got lots and lots, so keep them coming.
We have lots. And if I'm skipping anybody, I don't mean to. I'm just trying to skip over the little...
It's very hard. Michelle's job is very hard. Keep going.
Naomi says her due date is August 29th, 2020.
Not long then. Ooh, exciting. Right.
So, Cheryl says, I love how the pandemic is getting people to share more.
Yes, me
Although
too.
From a distance, like musicians online and others sharing positivity.
Yeah, but isn't it good? I love that too. I really love that too, my love.
While I'm looking for the next question, I'm just going to talk for a minute. For anybody out there who's got kids, the girls and I have started where we're writing letters, real letters to our family members and friends, because they need to do something. They need an outlet besides painting and candle making and everything else they've got me into right now.
Right. I think letters are a great thing. Sending cards, sending letters, making cards. Reese and I are talking at the moment about his mama and him making a card for her for a birthday, and he loves doing things like that. So yeah, there are lots of things that you can do. Next.
Okay, we've got Joe on.
Morning, Joe.
And it says, "Hello, good day. I would like to ask your opinion on why people receive spiritual visions like premonitions."
Well, there are lots of people who this does happen to, and I absolutely see it as a gift. I don't know why some people get these visions more than others. Perhaps it's that they are in those moments perhaps a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more aware, a little bit more open. Maybe circumstance gives them the opportunity to sort of be more open and more aware. It is a mystery to me as much as it is a mystery to you. People say to me about myself all the time, well, why you? I don't know why me. Are you? Is God picking on me, or is He giving me the best gift in the world? There are times when I think He's picking on me, but mostly He's giving me the best gift in the world, and I've no idea why. But there we have it. Next, Michelle. But thank you, Joe, for the question.
Megan is on. It says, "Rosemary, can I ask if you have any special messages for my children? My son Pepe asked me about what were to happen if he or I passed away. Does the spirit world feel sadness?" I explained what my thoughts were.
I think that when we pass away, whatever our situation, Reese and Samantha had an experience yesterday. I don't know if we talked about this. I think we did talk about this on one of our other shows, that their puppy, who was 14 years old, she passed away at Thanksgiving, just this last time at Thanksgiving. It so happened the other day that Samantha and Reese went out for a walk. Now, the city streets are practically empty, but so in her neighborhood, they don't go near anyone, but she'll take him out for a walk for about half an hour to an hour. They go around the park area. They make sure to keep away from people. But the other day, all of a sudden, they saw a dog, the image of their Piper. And this dog took one look at Reese and came scampering up, pulling his owner behind him, came scampering up and went crazy, as if, there you are, where have you been? So, when dogs, they'll see somebody they haven't seen for a while and they just get beside themselves. This dog was beside itself, absolutely. But it was the absolute image of Samantha and Reese's Piper. And the owner was talking to them. Oh my goodness, I've not seen her go crazy for people like this, and so on. And Samantha said, well, she's the image of our dog. Showed the picture. Yes, there it is, the absolute image. And then as they were about to move away, Samantha said to Reese, she said, oh my goodness, she's just like Piper. And the owner said, excuse me, what did you call your dog? And they said, Piper. And the woman looked and she said, but this is Piper too. And it was almost as if, and Reese was absolutely convinced, he came back to talk to me about it and to ask my opinion, he was absolutely convinced that his Piper, who he knows is in the spirit world, it was almost as if he said, I think our Piper told that Piper to come and say hello to us and to let us know that she's okay. And I said, I think you're absolutely right. The spirit world is joyful when we come to them. Although they do understand our sadness at leaving our family behind, they are joyful. But just because we're in the spirit world, the reason I told that story was because we can still see, we can still come and connect with our loved ones here. So, please tell your children that if anything were to happen to you, you would still be there and you would still be around them, you would still be with them. And that, death is not the end, my love, it's the beginning. All right, next question.
Okay. Roxy says, hello, Rosemary. Hope all are healthy and safe and keep us in your prayers.
Certainly. Absolutely. Sending healing hands around the world. We're sending out healing to everyone.
Sarita said.
Who did?
Sarita,
yeah.
She says, Dear Rosemary, my mom just wants to mention to you a great song called 55 Miles of Elbow Room by Susan Vega, just in reference to the conditions upstairs.
All right. 55. Can you can write that down for me, right, Michelle? And
yes, I got you.
And I'm going to go to iTunes, not only to listen to my guided meditation, which you can find there and everywhere else. I'm going to see if I can find that as well and listen to that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anything else, Michelle?
Maggie said, question, I didn't want to do this to take advantage, but anything from my Megan?
Maggie, you can always take advantage of me. When I don't want it, I shall let you know. And absolutely, yes. Gregor has his hand on my shoulder. There's a special, it's obviously a special time. I don't know why, but it's a very special time. The message is for you to celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Life is joyful, life is good, both here on this earth and also in the spirit world. And she's absolutely fine. I hope that helps you, my love. We've got time for a couple more and that's it, because we're running out of time, Michelle.
Roxy is on.
Hi.
And she says, activities are great to bring loved ones together at this time with your girls is priceless. Hope all are healthy and happy and safe. Blessings to everyone.
Thank you. Anything else?
Beverly is on.
Morning, Beverly.
She says, hold on, you guys keep typing and it keeps moving me. She says, I've been affected by loss. Most of my closest family passed by 25 years old. My question is, I feel they're trying to get a message to me and I feel them a lot. Do you see anything?
I can tell you from Grey Eagle and because he's nodding and I'm nodding, and the message is simply that they are safe. But for some reason you need this. So the message is also, please remember you are not alone. They're trying to tell you that you are not alone. A couple more, Michelle, and then we're going to have to wind it up, I'm afraid. But we do have Saturday where I can tell you a story, and so we'll have story time, and if you want to make comments or questions, you can do that as well. We will have the chat room, right, Michelle? Are we doing this on YouTube on Saturday, or are we doing this on Facebook?
I think that we decided that we were going to try to do this one on Facebook because we did last one on YouTube and we wanted to see what the difference was going to be. Trying to do it on both.
Michelle has put out a little poll because we want to know whether people would prefer story time on YouTube or on Facebook. Now, it will, even if we do it on YouTube, on Facebook Live, it will go, we will put it up onto YouTube. So do you want it live on Facebook or do you want it live on YouTube? And you need to get a move on. If you have an opinion, you can email us rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com and let us know. But we do want to know which medium you like the best or which is easiest for you to get to. Again, this Saturday it will be live on my Facebook page, on the healing page, I do believe, Michelle, right? You know, you can go to my Facebook page, Rosemary at rosemaryantair.com. If you're not sure, you just email Michelle and she'll send you the link. And we shall put it up on YouTube. But we'd love to know, when you look for stuff like this, not just me, when you look, which is your favorite thing to do? Is your favorite thing to go on your Facebook page or to come onto my Facebook page? Is your favorite thing to go to YouTube and look on YouTube? What is it that you like to do best? So far, in the poll, we've got a 50-50 split, which is not helping us at all. But anyway, that's all right. Excuse me. But please, you know, let us know which you prefer. Yeah. Anything else, Michelle?
Actually, I think that right now we're pretty much done for today.
Okay. All right. So if you want to know more about us, if you want us to send healing to you, if you want to know more about my books, my guided meditations, anything at all like that, please email us, Rosemary at rosemaryantair.com. Please put the topic that you're interested in the subject line, or just say everything in the subject line and we'll let you know what we're up to. If you want to be added to our mailing list, we will not automatically add you. So please, if you want to be added to our mailing list, you have to request, please put me on your mailing list. At which point we send you out something like an average of about 5 emails a month. You thought I was going to say a week, didn't you? We will not inundate you with emails. We'll send out about probably roughly 5 or so a month. We will not inundate you, but you do have to request it, because we will not put you on the mailing list unless you do. We shall be back here again next Thursday. I shall be later tonight. Where are we? It's Thursday, right? I've lost touch.
Everything is Attitude.
Everything is Attitude is on at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll be with Al Pisano. Our topic is what is going on in the world. So please join us then. And where can they find us? There, Facebook, right?
Facebook,
Messenger,
healing page.
Yeah, the healing page. So again, you know, please join us on Everything is Attitude. My co-host Al Pisano will be with me, and we'll definitely be on at 8 o'clock. Also, of course, class tonight, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time will be story time. You will be able to make comments or, you know, join in a little bit in the chat room. Who knows what the story is going to be? I know I said I was going to talk about Nino, but I might change my mind before then. Dean, you wanted stories. I'm desperately waiting for yours. I want you to join us if you will, and he's one of my favorite people anyway. And also I think that's it, right? And we shall be back next Wednesday in the afternoon, 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, for our Hands Around the World healing session. So please join us then. In the meantime, please, I've got to go and now read some children's stories to Michelle's daughters. There's one about a very lonely mouse. And there's another one about the land of Jello. Can you imagine that I'm telling stories to these kids at this age? Anyway, that's what we're going to do next. In the meantime, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. Please have a very, very blessed weekend, and stay positive. It really is all going to be fine. I can promise you that. I never make a promise I can't keep, but it will be fine. Don't give in to the negativity. Be positive. Think good things, good thoughts. I'm sending out all my prayers and my thoughts to all of you. So have a very, very blessed rest of the day and weekend. Now you're going to see my finger looming over the camera somewhere. I've got to click that top button there. There you go.